Greetings, St. Catherine's community. I am so grateful for the friendship within this community, for your ongoing presence in each other's lives and in my life. This continues to be a time that requires much flexibility, change, and adaptation from each one of us. As with the pandemics in human history, we are transitioning to our new normal. And one thing I am grateful for is that God continues to move toward us. God's faithful relationship to humanity and the natural world is unchanging. And I take great comfort even as I learn to trust this. A subcommittee of St. Catherine's Parish Council, called the Connections and Wellness Committee, formed especially for this time of COVID-19 pandemic, have compiled a survey to understand our experience of church from a distance. Would you take a few minutes to complete this survey for us? It'll take about 7 minutes of your time. We would really value your feedback as we continue to improve on the ways that we connect remotely. And you can find the link to the survey in the written version of this message, and it will be also in Friday's notices. We are anticipating a time when we will come back together for worship. Archbishop Melissa will release more about our gradual return on June 14th and also help us anticipate the changes that might come in the remainder of this year. But in the meantime, the Parish Council have been working out ways to address the sound issues in our church. And with me is St. Catherine's People's Warden, Gordon Lee. Gordon, could you tell us what the main issues are regarding sound in the church?
Sharon, as we have become a smaller worship community than we were 20 years ago, we felt the need to find ways for the choir to better support congregational singing during service. And we've attempted to do this by having the choir sing from the chancel, that's from the front of the church. That's helped in some ways, but has caused problems as well. First, the choir can't hear each other when they are singing from the front of the church, and that makes it hard for them to sing together. And second, the choir, joyful voice, and the readers have difficulty hearing the service when they are sitting in the chancel. Also, because we are a smaller community, when the choir is singing from the loft, they are quite separate from the congregation, and we'd like to be able to bring them closer together and to feel that they are part of the worship in a more integrated way.
Thank you, Gordon. So, Gordon, what has the process been to discuss possible solutions for this problem, for this dilemma?
Well, first, you met with choir, and there have also been discussions at Parish Council. Based on those discussions at Parish Council, we invited a former Dean, Peter Elliott, Thomas Roach, who was in charge of liturgical arts at Christ Church Cathedral, and Rupert Lang, who is still the music director at the cathedral, to meet with us to explore ways to address the sound issues that we have at St. Catherine's. Siri Rabane, the wardens, and you met with Peter, Thomas, and Rupert on February the 16th, and they identified a number of issues with the sanctuary that are causing sound problems for us. These include the reredos, which is the area behind the altar in the chancel. There is a mesh wall covering a blank area behind the behind the sanctuary that absorbs sound. And when the church was built, the area behind this mesh, there's some mesh there, may have been there as the planned location for the organ pipes. So we may have been, at the time in 1962, planning to install organ pipes behind this mesh. Also, the solid railing in the loft blocks the sound of the choir and makes it harder for the choir to hear the service as well. In addition, the furnishings that we have, the soft furnishings that we have, carpets and hangings and so on, absorb sound and make it harder to hear during the service. Peter Elliott suggested we meet with Matthew Stempf, who is a contractor who has done quite a bit of small work at Christ Church Cathedral. Matthew is also an ordained minister who has preached there on occasion. In April, Reverend Sharon and I met with Matthew, and he has developed a proposal to address the reredos issue and the solid loft railing. His proposal includes installing a solid wood backing to replace the mesh and installing a new railing in the choir loft. One issue, if we replace the mesh in the chancel, we would lose the nativity scene.
Thank you. So those are some of our options. The parish council did have a conversation about these different alternatives and came up with a few ideas about how we could possibly put a newly carved nativity scene outside for others to see and actually make that a community offering. But that's something that we would need to explore in further detail. How would we afford to make these changes if we go ahead and move in this direction, Gordon?
Well, we could do these modifications and pay for them out of monies in our restricted funds. The Memorial Fund, which is a restricted fund which is allocated for sanctuary hardware and enhancement, is one place that we could get this money. And this is money that is often given as in memory of people who passed away. And we can perhaps also tap on the capital development fund, which we have.
So it wouldn't come out of any of our operating funds that we are using right now for our church budget? That's right, yes. Okay. And we are going to be inviting parishioners into a meeting. And have we scheduled a time for that?
Well, we're inviting the community to join us for a discussion about this possibility, these changes in the church on May 31st, 2020 at 2 p.m. And we'll do this using Zoom. You can either phone in or video into this meeting, and details will come out in the written notice and will be available to you. So you'll be able to figure out how to connect.
That's great. Gordon, thank you so much. So appreciate you being with us here today. Alison Watt had found this beautiful blessing that was produced by the churches in the United Kingdom. And we've supplied the link for you as a community to view this in the written version of this message. And so may God bless you, and may God keep you, and may God's face shine upon you. May God lift up God's countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen. Take care.